So avoiding doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's part of a denial defense mechanism. And so it keeps you safe. In grief therapy, the first stage of grieving is denial, and that keeps you safe because it's too big. The loss is too big to face right away. And your brain actually can't fully comprehend it right away. So it gives you time and space. Avoiding gives you time and space. So that is so grounding. So when you're a bit triggered, your nervous system is detecting a threat. So you will go into either you're going to fight, you're going to flight, get away, and that's also avoiding. You're going to freeze, can't move, collapse, and there's a fourth one in relation to relational triggers is fawning. You tiptoe and you people please and you make sure everybody's okay, I'm okay. So if you're in that state, that's your survival state, that's your triggered state. So if something happens and you're triggered, your nervous system, then you feel anxious. So something basic that can really just help you ground yourself is to pull yourself into the present moment. I am capable. I can do this. This is not too big for me.
And how do we learn to sit in discomfort? I know, in a healthy way.
In a healthy way, incrementally.
Yeah.
So slowly but surely. And again, taking notice. That made me uncomfortable. Where do I feel that discomfort in my body? What is this discomfort for me? Can I allow myself to sit in it for a little bit before I run out of it? Maybe I can allow myself to sit in it for 30 seconds. Free. Yeah. If you think of a little child, they don't think they're too loud. They don't care about being too loud. They're just free. They're laughing with freedom. And so I think that's something I'm allowing myself to do more, is to take permission to laugh, to take permission to be a little bit bold, to be a little bit loud if I need to. And that might not be loud for other people, but it might be for me.
This is Threads of Grace. Welcome. We are going to episode 2 of our podcast. We're going to talk about the title, Am I Healing or Am I Avoiding? This is a subject that many would love to hear about, or maybe avoid talking about. In today's episode, I have a very dear person as our guest. It is my psychologist, Jade Brown, that I will be inviting in conversation today. But just in a nutshell, in this episode, I'd like us to talk about a few things, or cover a few things. One is I want to reflect on what is the meaning of healing, or even avoidance. How do we distinguish that? Am I actually going through the healing process, or am I avoiding the healing process? But I want to reflect on the journey of healing itself, and perhaps go into some tools that we could tap into to make sure that we, in fact, go into that healing process. But I also want to touch on something very important is, once you identify what healing is and you start that process, how do you celebrate such small steps that you're taking? So today with us, welcome, Jade.
Thank you.
Perhaps you can just introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you. It's really amazing to be on this platform. And I think we've walked a journey together, so this is quite a celebration in itself of healing, a celebration of just the beauty. I think of where God gives beauty from ashes, that anything can be restored, anything can be healed, anything. And I think that people run away from difficulty. So if we talk about, am I healing, am I avoiding? We often avoid because we're trying to protect ourselves. In psychology, we often say, what you resist persists. So we run away from things, but we end up running straight into it. So it's amazing to be here, firstly. Let me just say that. And it's an honor to be in your home and in this space. And I look forward to just the meaning making that we make today.
So Jade Brown is a counseling psychologist based here in Nelson Mandela Bay. had her training in University of Fort Hare with keen interest in identity and relational issues. And you've also done some community psychology as well.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
so welcome, Jade. I hope you will be able to tap into this experience that she carries and pick some nuggets that you can take in your personal journey. So before we start, just to get our conversation warm, I have a question that I'd like you to reflect on. And the question is, what is something you have recently given yourself permission to feel?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's quite an interesting one. I think for me, in my own personal journey, I've always had to keep my feelings, whether it's joy, sadness, anger, whatever it is, I always reduce it and make it small. So recently, what I've been giving myself permission to do is to feel it big. Is to, if I'm happy, I can laugh big, I can be loud, and it's okay. So I have a very soft, small voice. And when I was little, I remember annoying my brother a lot and laughing a lot. And he would say, "Oh, you're so loud." But nobody would ever think that about me now, because somewhere that loudness kind of got quite small and quiet and very respectful.
And what's the significance of you being loud in that moment?
Free.
Yeah.
You know, if you think of a little child, they don't think they're too loud. They don't care about being too loud. They're just free. They're laughing with freedom. And so I think that's something I'm allowing myself to do more, is to take permission to laugh, to take permission to be a little bit bold, to be a little bit loud if I need to. And that might not be loud for other people, but it might be for me.
Does that mean, like, in your space when you're alone in the house, that you can actually laugh out loud, like sing out loud and things like that? Okay,
yes.
No, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, reflecting on this question for me on my side, I think you find me at a very good space. I've just gone over the one of my biggest milestones, which is going over into 40. And I have felt a deep sense of joy in this moment.
Sure.
You know, so if you to ask me what's something that I've allowed myself to feel, you know, of course, with the celebration comes reassurance and affirmations and all those things. So deep sense of joy, which comes with gratitude and reflection, that in fact of the 40 years, the bulk of it has been good. You know, so yeah, that's what it is on myself. And for our listeners, would like you to also reflect on that and just ponder on that. What is it that you've given yourself permission to feel? Let's go into our core conversation. We're going to talk about a few things, and as a starting point for me, I'd like us to reflect on the meaning of healing. What is healing and what is avoidance? You know, so where do I start? Because some people have faced challenges in life, and we all go through that. And perhaps the deterrent is the starting point. I relate to this in the sense of, like, an athlete myself. Before you do the marathon or the Comrades Marathon, which feels like a mountain, you need to start somewhere. You need to start training somewhere. So where do we start with healing, for example?
So I think let us start with what is avoidance.
Okay.
Because for me, healing is actually just growth. I think some people might put too much on the sense of, I need to heal, and then it becomes pressure, like running the Comrades Marathon, instead of just accepting where you are and starting from where you are. So what is avoidance, firstly? To me, avoidance is running away from something. It's not wanting to face something, not wanting to talk about something. But to just take somebody who's avoiding something and put them in front of it right away might not be helpful, might not be healing. That might be more damaging. So actually, you kind of have to look at, why do people avoid? And people avoid because some things are too painful to face right away. And so as human beings, we have these natural defense mechanisms, ways of protecting ourselves, ways of making us safe. So when we avoid something, it means that we're avoiding something that could be potentially threatening or dangerous, something that's too emotionally big or too dangerous. Yeah.
Are they avoiding because of the unknown, or is it also avoidance when you know? Does it happen at the same place or the same time?
I think you might sometimes, the way our brains are wired is that a threat, even if we don't know it, if we're not fully aware of it, even if it just looks like it could be a threat, if avoiding is our natural way of response to danger, then we just avoid naturally. So avoiding doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's part of a denial defense mechanism. And so it keeps you safe. In grief therapy, the first stage of grieving is denial, and that keeps you safe because it's too big. The loss is too big to face right away. And your brain actually can't fully comprehend it right away. So it gives you time and space. Avoiding gives you time and space. And then you can slowly, when you're more ready, slowly make your way towards it.
Okay, interesting. And so if I pick avoidance naturally, consciously or not, while going through specific challenge with an intention to navigate healing, so where do I start facing healing? How do I break this huge mountain into small pieces? So how do I even start that process of healing? Is there anything specific, or do I just delve into it? What would you say? Or how do you approach that?
I think the first place to start is always awareness. When you have more awareness, you have more choice. So like you say, you might not know that you're avoiding. So a good place is to just start taking notice. So you slow yourself down. And so maybe even you keep a little journal or a diary and you start taking notice. So you have conversations with people around you. You see, oh, that thing made me feel uncomfortable. And in the moment, I walked away from it. So you just take notice before you change anything or confront anything. You take notice and you just keep a little record for yourself. Oh, okay. So these are the moments where I walk away instead of walking towards. I notice when I'm feeling uncomfortable. If I feel angry, I rather walk away than confront, or I avoid conversations with this person now all the time because there's something there. So just taking notice actually is the first step.
And what are some of these behaviors that you can pick individually to say, okay, actually this is like a telltale sign of avoidance? I know for myself, for example, I would go deep into cleaning, or you'll see me running a lot.
Okay.
and yes, as much as running, for example, gives me therapy, I could be dealing with something or clearing my mind, but I also use it as an avoidance tool, like when I'm not ready to face something. So maybe I want to channel that energy off, through fatigue. So what are other behaviors would show that someone is avoiding?
I think it would be personalized to each person, but definitely when you notice you are keeping busy more and more and more, finding more things to do, and you know that there's something that you need to do, something that is bothering you, something you need to face, and you keep putting it off. Maybe if you keep canceling with somebody, if you keep avoiding visiting your mom or something like that. So you will notice in your own behavior, if you keep either filling the space with something else, or you are canceling or saying no or redirecting. So like you said, you like to go running or you start cleaning a lot. Some people get really busy. Some people watch series. Some people might sit and scroll for hours.
Or binge eat.
Exactly. They might find themselves eating a lot more.
Is it the intensity that shifts,
Yes,
in
and
that circumstance?
exactly. And I think that's why you just take notice. So it's kind of reconnecting with yourself, slowing down, just taking notice. What am I doing? What is my day to day looking like? And what's different in this day to day?
And I mean, I've seen where perhaps other people would be like intensely spiritual, for example,
Yes.
or they would, we've talked about productivity, where you're either cleaning a lot, you're doing but something so intense. Do you think the intensity could also be the opposite? Instead of it increasing, but being docile.
Yes.
Withdrawal and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about depression, it's difficult to get out of bed in the morning, so you stay in bed. So it's hard to face work. It's hard to get to something. So definitely the opposite is true. Sometimes people redirect their energy and they're doing a lot, keeping busy, busy, busy. Sometimes then there's no energy. And it's difficult to even get anything done. So then, like, more and more of your self-care kind of starts to fall away. Can't get out of bed. It's difficult to have showers. It's difficult to dress appropriately for whatever the day calls for.
And from a psychological point of view, why does our brain default to that? Can we explain it?
There's so many different explanations.
Because many people would like to camouflage it. They don't want anyone to know if they're going through that. So by avoidance, it almost shows. It almost shows because you're not dealing with a particular issue that's consuming you. So how do we explain that?
Exactly. Often we think people can't see, but they often can pick up something's not okay. And when it's very obvious, then you actually can't even hide it anymore. That's how big it is. So there's that sense of what you resist persists. Eventually stuff shows. I think what I'm thinking about is the picture of when you push stuff down, kind of becomes like a mole underground. And so you can't see the mole, and you have this beautiful lawn and it's very well manicured, but then you wake up in the morning and there's these molehills. And you can't see the mole, but there's the molehills that are these noticeable signs that there's a mole. So the anxiety, the depressive symptoms, the avoiding, the running around, busy, busy, busy. Those are the molehills in your life. I can't stop eating. I just filling some kind of hole. I need comfort. I need something. This thing is making me uncomfortable. All those things in your life are molehills. So we just take notice of it. And then eventually we'll get to the mole.
You touched about the issue of eating, because that one is either you go extreme or you go you don't eat at all. And is there some connection with the brain with that?
Definitely. So when you eat something comforting and nice, there's obviously dopamine, sugary stuff also releases dopamine. The sugars in the breads are comforting. But psychologically, when you're born, when you're a baby, food is connected to your mother. So food is both nutritious and nurturing. It's both care and nutrition for your body. So somehow food, and when you are fed, you're held close. So when you're a grown-up, you can't be a little baby. You're being fed with a bottle. So sometimes you might run and you might need to get something that comforts you, that gives you that feeling of care and comfort.
Okay. I also wanted to just touch from that point of view in terms of psychologically, what are some of the subconscious beliefs in our brain or inner narratives that keeps us stuck in this avoidance? Is it that inner voice or I don't know, that's why
that's it.
Like to unpack that.
So somewhere in our lives we then develop these beliefs that say this thing is too big. Either this thing is too big or I'm not capable of facing this. I'm not capable of dealing with something like this. I'm too small to deal with something like this, or I'm too weak to deal with something like this. Or this thing will destroy me, so I can't face it because it will destroy me. And that's why I say that the denial and the avoiding is often a protective thing. And so sometimes we need to slowly desensitize ourselves to the reality that I'm not going to be destroyed when I face this thing. So maybe you face smaller things leading up to bigger things, and you see, okay, I am capable. Actually, I'm not going to burst into flames when I have that conversation. I'm still alive. I'm still okay. I'm still intact.
So, but I know it's easier said than done. When you're in that state, it feels like a mountain. What will people think? The consequences of the explosion of this issue. And but the reality is, avoidance does not guarantee solution, right?
No.
And what we want to get to a state of is getting into that process of starting and going through that healing process or that journey so that you can overcome it. So while I'm seated there and it's simmering in, and is this just a natural process, or sometimes it's triggered by external factors? What would you say? What are some of these things that would trigger such for me to remain in that state?
I think safety comes to mind.
If you feel safe.
Safe, it's easier to walk towards something. And that's why in a therapy space, there's a separate space that is safe where you can deal and face these different challenges. But in one's life, if it doesn't seem like there's any safe place, it's hard to actually face things. It's hard to go towards them. So you might have to start taking responsibility for, how do I feel safe enough to start facing things? So before we face the things, like I said, that small incremental, just taking notice. What do I do when there's painful situations? How do I usually cope? What are my survival skills? And those survival skills, avoiding can be a wonderful survival skill and may have served you well. But in this time of your life, maybe it's starting to work against you. And so now as you take notice of that, you can slowly start saying, now I need to grow. Because this decision I made at 5 years old to avoid and run away, at 35, at 40, is not working for me anymore. Now I'm being called to, one of my favorite quotes is, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. So maybe this avoiding thing, yes, it's worked for me, but now my biggest growth is going to be going towards it. And as I go towards it, that's just going to cause new parts of me to start emerging, parts that have been hidden, parts that have been kind of discarded, to actually come up and say, I am capable. I can do this. This is not too big for me.
And how do we learn to sit in discomfort? I know, in a healthy way.
In a healthy way, incrementally. So slowly but surely. And again, taking notice. That made me uncomfortable. Where do I feel that discomfort in my body? What is this discomfort for me? Can I allow myself to sit in it for a little bit before I run out of it? Maybe I can allow myself to sit in it for 30 seconds, maybe a minute. And then start to see, actually, I can, my window, we call it window of tolerance, is actually starting to stretch and get a little bit bigger.
Because I can imagine, like in any problem or whatever situation you're feeling, it's not going to end instantly.
No.
Sometimes it drags for years. And for those who are lucky, it will be a short period of time before you you find healing, or
Yes.
for the situation to pass like a storm. Did you see how crazy it was in the weekend? And the next day it was like a perfect day.
Beautiful. A bit like today, actually.
In paradise.
Yes.
So I just want us to touch on that discomfort period, being it short or being at length. But of course, concerning if it's at length,
Yes.
what are some of the tools that I need to sensitize myself to know that discomfort, I'll sit in discomfort perhaps for a year, while I'm still trying to unpack, either I'm dealing with forgiveness, I'm dealing with, if it's a physical thing, I'm going through physiotherapy and other things. Yeah.
Yes.
How do I deal with a lengthy or a long elongated discomfort?
I think patience. I like to say to people, if this was your best friend, or your spouse or your child, needing this amount of care, if you've been in a car accident and there's all sorts of things that need healing and recovery, you booked off work for an extended period of time, you're going to the physio, you're doing all of these things. Nobody's like standing behind you saying, hey, you're taking too long to heal. It is what it is. Yeah. And so I think two important things is acceptance and patience. So accepting that your timeline is your timeline. Accepting that healing is not something that you can rush. Often you rush through it, you might have a setback, and then you further back, and then you're frustrated. But that in itself is also part of the healing and part of the process. So patience, and allowing yourself almost to be a friend to yourself, to walk the journey with yourself, to say, oh, okay, this is a bit of a milestone. I'm able to do this a little bit more. I'm able to face that a little bit more. So I'm growing. It's slow, but it's okay.
And how does acceptance look like? What is that tick box I can say, okay, maybe today I did this, and then that's acceptance. How does acceptance look like?
Yeah, acceptance is being able to say it's a mess, but it's okay. So if you're really depressed and you can't get out of bed, and maybe you've been staying in bed every day for a week, but you're beating yourself up about this all the time, and maybe you've decided, actually, it's really okay. I'm depressed. This is how I am in my lowest of depression. I'm just going to be okay with that. And then tomorrow I wake up and I feel a little bit stronger. And I say, okay, today, maybe I can't do a whole lot, but today I can get out of bed and I can brush my teeth. And I can go and sit in the lounge for an hour. That's little bit, but it's okay. And I'm being a friend to myself in that. And then actually that's too much now. I need to go and get back into bed. I can celebrate that I did that little bit and not beat myself up that I didn't go and have a shower and I didn't get dressed and I didn't go out and have a conversation with a friend, but just that I got up and I brushed my teeth and I sat in the lounge. That's enough.
Does it have anything to do with also naming the pain itself?
Yes.
Would I say that is also a form of acceptance?
Definitely.
Or a good step towards acknowledging.
Yes.
Yeah. And how does that look like? What is that process of naming a pain or identifying it?
It's being able to sit with it and say,
this happened to me, and it is ABCD.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
So I think often when we name things, there's a tendency to want to make sense of it and make meaning from it. But just saying, today this happened, that's it. Today I felt uncomfortable. In that moment with that person, I felt angry. I've named it.
And it doesn't necessarily mean it's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
It's acknowledging it. So I'm saying, I have been hurt.
Yes.
But being hurt is not okay. But I'm
That's
pleased.
it. Yeah. So So we can understand something, we can accept that this has happened. Doesn't mean that it's okay that it happened. It's just the sense that I'm okay, that this is where it is, that it's a mess, that these things have happened. Maybe somebody's wronged me. Not that the wrong is okay, but that you can sit with saying, it's okay that I'm here and I'm going to walk with myself out of it. I'm going to walk with myself through it. I'm going to face what I need to do.
Or I'm going to seek help.
I'm going to seek help, exactly. I'm fragile. I'm in a pile on the floor. I can't do anything. I'm going to ask for help. I'm in a pile on the floor. That's acknowledging. That's enough.
Okay, no, interesting. Thanks for sharing that. I have a question that I received from a friend who I thought it would be good for us to incorporate in our discussion. The question read, I often find myself starting over and over again with journaling, therapy, and even prayer. Does that mean I'm not healing? Or is there still value in this repetition process?
Definitely. So Sigmund Freud says we repeat in order to understand. And so there's something in the repetition. And so maybe you think you're starting over and you're coming back to the same place and you start over, but actually I don't think that is the case. I think even if we feel like we're starting over, every time we've done something, similarly, we're learning something. So we start over with fresh perspective. We start over with new eyes, with new ears. But we don't have to write off what we've learned and what we've been through and what we've gotten from the last start over. That last start over, maybe you learned something valuable about yourself. Maybe you made a mistake with something. Those mistakes are valuable. So I think the key is not to judge yourself, not to be too hard on yourself, but to allow yourself, I need to start over with this thing. Maybe I pray, in the mornings at this particular time for a certain amount of time, and then I stop doing that. And I'm in a season where my prayer life looks different. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. And then maybe you feel like, actually, I want to go back to my 5 a.m. prayer times. Doesn't mean that time when you weren't praying at 5 a.m. was a write-off and it's wrong or bad. It was a different season, So,
but it's also a thin line, because repetition could mean you're also focusing on it, or
yes,
so that thin line between making the issue grow versus understanding the issue so that you can journey through it.
Exactly.
And is that why actually therapy, is a repetitive process? It's not like you go once and end. So maybe you can touch on that.
Because we're human and we're complex. And we do just naturally repeat a lot. And so we're trying to make meaning and we're trying to make sense. So every time we go around that same issue, we're looking at it, trying to make meaning and making sense. I actually love working with grief and loss in the sense of, there's that model Elizabeth Kubler-Ross created around denial, bargaining, anger, sadness, and acceptance. And for me, that model kind of helps with the repetition, understanding the repetition stuff, because initially the pain is too much to face right away. And then I start bargaining with it. What if this happened? What if that? What if I change this? And then the reality is the reality, and I'm angry and I'm furious. And then it simmers down, and actually I'm sad. And this is what I've lost. And then I face it, and I look at it, and then and acceptance is, this has happened, and it's okay. I can face it. And there's a beautiful new step, is that David Kessler added, and he worked really closely with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. He says, once you get to that stage of just acceptance doesn't mean everything's better. It just means I'm okay that this is the mess and that this has happened. It's okay. And so that, just accepting that, opens up the possibility to make new meaning. So before that, I'm meaning making around anger, bargaining. This shouldn't have happened. I hate this. And you're grappling from this meaning-making place. Once you get to acceptance, it opens up new meaning. So now I can start seeing, okay, there's something that I never saw before in the same thing, you know.
Is it normal that somebody can jump through this process? I can get towards the end and I find myself at the beginning in this step-by-step
It's
process.
like layers, like an onion, you know. So maybe I've gone through this process with this particular thing, but now there's another element of the same thing that I'm processing and grieving and making my way through. And so I don't think we must be hard on ourselves and have rigid categories of this is right, this is wrong, this is the way to heal and grow. As human beings, we're just not like that. We are so complex that healing looks different for all of us, and that we need to be okay that it looks different for all of us, and be able to say, okay, what do I need? You know, what makes me feel safe? What makes me feel like I can face something? How do I need to grow?
And in this process, while trying to follow a method, a process or step-by-step process towards healing, as you've touched to, there is triggers also that come in between the little fireworks and sparks that comes around while you're going through this process. How does that really shake up things, and how can I handle that? You know, so I'm trying to face, I'm not avoiding, I am getting into that courageous step of starting my healing process. And in the middle of that fireworks, I'm triggered, I see something, I get upset, or I hear something, you know, and things like that. Takes me back to the start.
Yeah.
So how do I navigate that?
Well, I think you welcome it. And you don't judge it. And so you say, this happened. Look at my reaction. Curiosity, that's it. When you look at this trigger with curiosity, what happened there? What was it about this thing that brought that reaction out of me? And I never saw that coming, but it came. And I can see it and I can hold it and say, okay, let me unpack this. Let me see what this trigger has brought for me, because then I can learn from it. And then this thing comes back again and I feel it coming up and I'm like, this is familiar. I see this. I know what this is. Actually, I have a choice now. So awareness, like I said before, awareness always gives you more choice. And in that moment, then I can say, actually, I know that this leads me down that path, and today I don't need to go down that path. And then that's growth and that's healing.
Yeah, and the listener touches on journaling, which is a repetition process.
Okay.
But you remind me of a 3 process that you equipped me with.
Okay.
If you can share the one to bring you back into the current reality. Can I
grounding.
See? Yes, yeah. Perhaps you can talk on that.
Okay, so that is so grounding. So when you're a bit triggered, your nervous system is detecting a threat. So you will go into either you're going to fight, you're going to flight, get away, and that's also avoiding. You're going to freeze, can't move, collapse, you know. And there's a 4th one in relation to relational triggers is fawning. You tiptoe and you people please and you make sure everybody's okay, I'm okay. So if you're in that state, that's your survival state, that's your triggered state. So if something happens and you're triggered, your nervous system, then you feel anxious. So something basic that can really just help you ground yourself is to pull yourself into the present moment. And you can use your God-given senses to do that. So 3 things I like to say is just take notice. What can I see with my eyes?
Around you.
Yes. So I can see these beautiful roses and this glass of water and this mic in front of me. I can hear, maybe some birds outside, or I can hear a dog barking or people walking. I can touch. What can I touch? I can touch this couch, and the texture, the material feels textured and soft. This is where I am. My body's pulling me into this moment. This is the only place I need to be right now. So I pull myself, because flight, I want to get away. Fight. So your nervous system is saying there's a threat. But one place that you can help just to calm your nervous system is pull yourself back into the present moment, and you give yourself then some some choice and empowerment. Actually, this is where I am. I do have a choice, and you can also help with the breathing. Take some nice deep breaths in through your nose and slowly breathe out through your mouth, and that just calms the nervous system. Then your thinking brain can kind of come back online, and you can choose, make decisions, move forward from there.
Yeah, I found that to be very helpful for me personally, because it's that reality grounding.
Yes.
That
this is where I am.
This is where I am. Even though I'm sitting in discomfort and in pain, I still can see somebody. I can, so it's not like the challenge is following me.
Yes, exactly.
It's right here with me.
Yeah.
And what really helps somebody turn the corner? What is it from your experience dealing with many of us? What would really make me go into that healing process? Because it almost feels natural for us to drag in this. I'm sure you've seen people who have done well in therapy, and those who haven't done well. So what would be the main thing that really helps people turn the corner?
Sure. What comes to mind is a willingness to accept your vulnerability, a willingness to be kind to yourself. I find often people who are willing to be kind to themselves, to allow themselves the vulnerability of where they are, then they go through it, and then they come out with more resilience, more growth. They've allowed themselves that opportunity to be where they are and to get what they need from themselves, from the situation, from God. Depends where they're at. Also the willingness to let somebody in, let somebody like me sit with them in the mess. Just that willingness to be seen, willingness to be vulnerable, willingness to be kind to yourself. Somehow just that allows for a turning of the corner, allows for somehow things start to just shift and move naturally, organically.
And I suppose, of course, I'm a big advocate for therapy because I found use in it. But there's other structures. There's family, there's church, there's friends. But also, as much as you want to seek help and you want to get help, so that you're not avoiding and you're actually dealing with the issue, you also don't want the world to know.
Yes. And they don't have to know.
You
everything.
don't want to air out all your laundry, but you want to deal with it in a dignified way, in a way that does not reduce you, in a way that really builds you. So what is the importance of choosing that the support structure, and how will I be able to do that with confidence? How do I go about that?
I think it's maybe looking at what support structures you just have available to you in that moment. When you decide, actually, I feel like there's a lot happening, and I feel like I've been running away, I feel like I've been avoiding, and I feel like I'm ready to start facing certain things. How do I do this? Is there a close friend or a partner or somebody that I can just have this conversation with to acknowledge it, to voice it, to name it? Can I look at what other structures do I have in place? Do I have a journal that I can go to? That's a supportive structure. Can I start just pouring stuff out somewhere and closing the book? Can I go to my church? Is there somebody I trust that I can go to and ask, can you pray for me? So just taking notice of what you have already around you, and then being brave to step towards those things. Because remember, avoiding is running away. So there's bravery in just stepping towards a conversation, asking for prayer, attending a new Bible study group, because now there's people that you must engage with. That's stepping towards. Maybe socially you run away. So what little thing can I step towards? And you look in your own environment around you and see, where's the one thing I can slowly just step towards and make use of those resources.
And what I found that goes hand in hand with avoidance has been shame. The shame that you carry when you accept, you realize actually this thing is shameful. it humiliates, and whatever negative feelings it makes you, feel. There's shame and there's also fear. You talked of safety, feeling safe, So these two, in my view, go hand in hand. But how do I still face with shame and fear those contradictions there?
There's a lady named Jade Brown.
I love her.
Yes. And one of my favorite things from her is that she says, shame cannot withstand empathy. And so that's why I say, when there's a willingness to be kind to yourself, you can have empathy for yourself. And so shame cannot withstand it. Shame doesn't have anything to hold on to. So when there's a critical voice, a criticism, that's what shame, it has lots to cling to. But when there's, you're human and it's a mess and it's okay. Where's shame? Shame can't grab it. So shame just slowly starts to disintegrate. So I love that shame cannot withstand empathy. So just that starting point of being willing to be kind to yourself, to empathize with yourself even, or allow somebody else to empathize with you. That's that place.
What would you tell a listener who's listening into a conversation and realizing that I've been avoiding or I'm now ready to find healing?
Sure. Well done.
Okay, yes, that's the step.
Exactly. Just that is worth celebrating. Just worth having those thoughts. Because if you are so deep in your avoidance, you wouldn't even be willing to sit and listen to the conversation. If you see this conversation and you see the word avoidance and you listen to the conversation, that's already a step. And in listening to the conversation, you resonate with some stuff, and then you start saying, let me talk to my friend about this. That's already a step. So you can start celebrating even the smaller stuff of things. Sometimes we look for big signposts and say, okay, now this shows I'm avoiding. Now I need to go for therapy. It's not necessarily that way. There was a time before therapy and people were still healing then. So it's just around taking responsibility. Once you notice, I'm avoiding, I take responsibility for that avoidance and I do what comes naturally. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's a good one because it's the first step, it's that acknowledgement. What is one truth that you would tell a listener?
A truth about this avoiding.
Yeah, feeling stuck and avoiding and, opting to run away, opting to not face it, not to sit in discomfort, from where you are seated working with people. What would you like them to know?
A truth is, in your avoiding, you have been brave to try and be safe. But now, in acknowledging the avoiding, perhaps it's time to use that bravery to face and to walk towards. And if you're a Christian, and maybe we can bring faith in this, nothing is then too big to face. If I think about Jesus on the cross, he died before anyone did anything. So there's no prerequisite. It's just an invitation. It's just in your big mess, no matter what it is, can you accept it? Can you receive acceptance? Can you be brave to say, this is the mess. It's okay, I'm human. And let me start to sort this mess. Let me just take one step towards sorting the mess. So I would say that. And I'd say, you've been brave in running away. But maybe now is the time to be brave in facing.
Interesting contradiction.
Yes.
That there is bravery in the avoidance, but there's also bravery, while you go through it. No, thank you very much. I think this subject really resonates with many. Many of us avoid even having this conversation.
Yes.
But my prayer is whoever is listening will be also able to tap into their own journey and reflect in truth and honesty that their freedom lies in that first step. Their freedom lies in them taking that step to face their mountain. And the beautiful part is once the mountain is flat, or even while journeying through that, you can still celebrate and you can still grow as a person, and it can build you. From my personal journey that you have walked with me, which I'm forever grateful, I think seeking help, seeking professional help, because I mean, everybody's a Google now. Is a therapist, is a doctor, is everybody.
Yes.
They can get this information
Yeah.
out there. But the power of seeking professional help has been the biggest success for my own journey, and continues to be, you know,
Sure.
even when the challenge passes, it's something that nourishes the
Sure.
mind. And I think you should touch on that, you know,
Yeah.
emphasis.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think we never stop growing, and that's the reality. And I mean, I think about Freud in terms of our unconscious. There's stuff really deep in our unconscious. You think of the iceberg. There's the tip of the iceberg, and you don't see the mass of the iceberg underneath. That's not all bad stuff under there. It's just stuff that we don't have access to yet. And so when stuff starts to pop up, it just means that we're ready. And that's where we have to trust. If something has emerged to the surface, it doesn't mean that life is over. It means that, oh, I'm ready now to face this thing. Because somewhere your psyche, your self knows that I'm ready to face this thing. So it's come up. And so to trust that if this has come up, then I'm ready to face it.
No, thank you very much. And they say, I don't know who, I cannot quote,
That's
but
fine.
I've had a statement: you cannot doubt and trust at the same time. So you also have to decide.
Yeah.
And somebody else has said, fear is a friend misunderstood. So you can be fearful to face your challenge,
Yes.
but also fear is a warning.
Yes.
You know that
Yes.
this thing is either bad for you, or you know, but it can also propel you towards action, the action of
Yes.
running or dealing with it.
Exactly.
You know, so thank you very much for joining us in this conversation. So for our listeners, may you be able to find courage, as Jade has said, to face your challenges and not avoid, but actually find true healing, be it through journaling, be it through therapy, in conversation, in walking, whatever it takes for you to do that. Hope you find your healing. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. This has been wonderful. Thank you.